Good afternoon and welcome back, guys. Happy Saturday to you. The news just keeps getting more interesting as time passes. All right, I've got some newer articles and older articles for you guys because what I'm trying to do is just kind of I want to revisit some stuff just so that it's still fresh in everyone's heads. Okay. So first article. This article is from today. According to the Finance Committee, salaries are secured for coming months and what happened this month will not be repeated. Okay, let's look at the article. The Parliamentary Finance Committee confirmed on Saturday that the salaries will be secured for the coming months, while it announced its refusal to allow the government to borrow money without real reforms. Committee member Representative Jamal Cougar said salaries will be secured for the coming months, and the delays that happened this month will not be repeated, especially after the assurances launched by Prime Minister stressing that securing salaries means economic stability in every family. He added that there are about 8 million families who benefit directly from salaries, whether they are employees, retirees, or within social care and others, such as the private sector, markets, or merchants. Regarding borrowing, Cougar pointed out that Prime Minister of Finance has every right to submit a request for borrowing, but Parliament is not ready to proceed with continuous borrowing without real reforms. Indicating that, he explained that the Ministry of Finance borrowed 15 trillion dinars and now it is looking for a new borrowing of 27 trillion dinars, noting that the deficit of the 2020 budget was about 81 trillion dinar, while operating expenses are estimated at 35 trillion dinar, while public revenue amount to 67 trillion dinar. This means that the deficit funds are paid from cash reserves and local banks. And he stated that the Ministry of Finance is one of the most sensitive and important ministries because it concerned all joints of state, segments of society, and the Parliament asked the ministry to send the 2020 budget within 3 months, but it did not send it. Also, the borrowing law stipulated submitting a paper reform within 60 days and also did not submit it despite since the 120 days have passed, noting that the steps that the ministry is taking are slow and do not rise to the level of the current crisis. So, as you guys see, don't forget some of the obvious stuff in the past. They've already, here they put budget figures, but I've already shown you guys 3 articles where they said that they have yet to show us the real true numbers and figures with inside the budget. Okay, they also haven't really shown us the real breakout of the budget. Okay, so they haven't even submitted it to Parliament yet. Okay, because they were supposedly going to revise the deficit in it. But I already showed you guys an article in the past that said they've already trimmed the deficit down to 20% inside the budget. So again, they're hiding everything from us, all right, on every level. And they're just pumping BS and lies, guys. It's a disinformation campaign to mislead and confuse. All right, let's look at the next article. So guys, this is an older article from October 5th. I felt it was very important to bring this back because in the article we just read, they told you that they've secured the salaries. Okay, but now ask yourself how Iraq still has yet to approve the borrowing law. Okay, Parliament never approved the borrowing law, and they not only have they not approved the borrowing law, guys, they haven't borrowed any money. So here's my point now. If they secured the salaries, where did that money come from? Let's look at this article. Again, this is older from October 5th. Parliament moved to hold an emergency session of Parliament to discuss the salary crisis. We've already read this article, so all we care about is that green highlight. The oil revenues, the price of which reached $40 a barrel. So oil's been right around $40 a barrel. According to this, that is sufficient enough to cover salaries for all employees for the month of September. Interesting. Yeah, because in the previous article, they just told us that they've secured money for the salaries. But, again, guys, they didn't borrow money. They did not approve the borrowing law, and they did not approve money. And yet, in the previous article, they said they've secured salaries. And right here, guys, oil at $40 a barrel is enough to cover the salaries for the month of September. There you guys go. I'm just proving to you they're hiding the 2020 budget from you is all I'm showing you guys. And again, what I've brought you on this, what we've looked at and studied and reviewed on this YouTube channel, okay, we've factually proven to you that Iraq is not even capable of not just implementing but starting the approval process. Okay, again, Iraq's not even capable of starting the approval process, guys, of the 2020 budget and or the reforms, because these items are dependent and married on the rate change. Okay, these items, they're showing you, they're actually showing you here, they have to hide these items from you. What they're telling you here is they're not able to start the approval process on these items till the rate has physically changed and gone public. Okay, that's why they keep hiding it from you. That's why they've played a lot of games with us and lied to us tremendously in the news. Guys, this is, I think last week I showed you two other articles talking about deleting the zeros. This is another one, guys, and notice what I have after the end of the title. It says justifications for changing the Iraq dinar exchange rate. And the BS part's my comment because this article's all BS. This is a lengthy article. We are not going to read it. This article does talk about devaluing the Iraq dinar, and I'll show you that. Give me a moment here, and I'll bring up something here. It says, so the exchange rate is assumed right now that it's at 1,300 per dollar, okay? But and what they're here, so basically, guys, right here, they're talking about just literally devaluing the exchange rate, okay? So that's what they're doing. They're talking about devaluing the exchange rate, guys. And in the article, they do mention in this, you know what, I'll give you guys a quick explanation on this. The whole thing about devaluing the exchange rate, I'm sorry, let me back up, not devaluing. The whole principle behind this move here is, well, obviously one major step is changing their exchange rate allows them to go international, okay? Or increasing their exchange rate allows them to become international. But also, the second part of that is it's used to control inflation. If you were to read this article, you'd see there's multiple comments about controlling and balancing out their inflation. Okay, so that's the main reason why, one of the main reasons why they do these steps on top of just increasing their value and going international with it. But it's one of two things. They could either do what Iran did. Okay, Iran deleted zeros off their notes. Okay, but what do you call it? Iran had tremendously high inflation, or they could do what Kuwait did, and they could increase their exchange rate. Which, in what they do at this point, they would take zeros off their exchange rate and off the currency. They have to remove zeros off of both. And by taking the zeros off the exchange rate, what that does is that increases the value. Taking zeros off their exchange rate would make it approximately 1-to-1 with the U.S. dollar. From there, so that would be the first step, is taking the zeros off the exchange rate, making it 1-to-1 with the dollar. Then from there, they would have to turn around and do a reinstatement, and that would take it up in the 3+ range. Okay, so that's what it is. It's actually a two-step process. But anyway, guys, this article is it's a BS article, so it's not even worth my time to read it to you, and it's long. I'm not going to read this whole article. Now, here's an older article that I'm just trying to show you. This is that original one from September 21st, where Parliament received the 2020 budget, and then literally the very next day, a day or two later, is when they withdrew it and kicked it back. So I just wanted you to see that. Now, just here's more proof. Remember, I told you guys that they're much farther along than what they're telling us the truth on, and I also told you guys, remember they came out saying that the reason why Parliament supposedly withdrew it when they did was because the deficit was originally at 45%, and then they got it reduced. I showed you an article that said they reduced the deficit down to 20%. Okay? Well, guys, right here, they're already telling you that Kurdistan's portion of the 2020 budget is actually at 12.67%. Okay? So if Kurdistan's budget or proceeds from the 2020 budget is at 12.67%, guys, guess what? All parties have gone through the 2020 budget with the fine-tooth comb. Very simple, guys. The budget's in the background. The budget's done. It's approved. Again, they can't bring it forward, and they have to continue to hide the numbers, guys, until the rate has changed. All this other stuff, guys, the news is scripted. It's literally a soap opera. That's why since they met on August 20th, you've seen the news they have. It's all just scripted BS, just to buy time and burn time, okay? So again, this article just proves that, because they already know exactly what portion of the budget, what percentage of it goes back to Kurdistan. Okay, so all parties have already gone through a fine-tooth comb, and the budget's not a big sloppy mess like they're telling you it is. The budget's done, it's ready to go, it's simply waiting on the rate change. So here's some newer articles, guys. This is from yesterday, the 9th. The Prime Minister sponsored a historic agreement, and guys, this is, unless you really know what you're looking at here, this has some older stuff, again, that shows you how long these reforms have been outstanding for. Okay? So, give me a moment here. There was something that I was going to try to show you in this that, okay, it talks about how this agreement paves the way for reconstruction, but it also returns distressed people. Guys, and again, it's talking about the Kurdistan region, but see, it talks about distressed people, guys. The distressed people, guys, really, that's the displaced people. What they're talking about is Iraq still has displaced people, guys, clear back from the ISIS war that ended in December of 17. And see how they're still talking about reconstruction? My point to you is this. If the ISIS war ended in December of 17, guys, we're almost now in December of 2020. That's 3 years ago. What the hell has Iraq waited on for reconstruction? And reconstruction, as I've always told you, is part of the reforms. But what are they waiting on? How come they couldn't do reconstruction? And why do they still have displaced people clear back from 3 years ago? Why? It's very simply, guys, because everything's contingent and waiting upon the rate change. That's what it is. So that's what I'm trying to show you here, okay? So we're not going to read this whole article. There's no point. I just wanted to pull some key points out of it for you. Let's look at this one here. Notice how, again, this is from yesterday the 9th. Notice how the U.S. got sanctions now on all of Iran's financial sector, guys. That's huge. That's the U.S. And notice how this just happened now. Okay? My point to you is they were able to, the U.S. is able to put financial handcuffs on the country of Iran to force Iran to keep their hands out of Iraq's financial soup. Okay? This is the U.S. keeping Iran out of Iraq's money. That's very simply what this is, okay? And notice how it just now went into effect as of the 9th. Interesting, isn't it? Let me see if I have another one for you. I do not, guys. That is it, guys. It's, as you see very clearly, the 2020 budget's done. They've already got the numbers in it. They already know all the figures. They already know the deficit. The most current article told us that they only had a 20% deficit. Guys, the 2020 budget, again, they went through it with a fine-tooth comb. Kurdistan went through it with a fine-tooth comb. They already know all the numbers, figures, and deficit figures in it. Okay, they're just, again, it's all scripted news. It's the Iraqi soap opera. Okay? And that's the reason they still periodically talk about the reforms, talk about the 2020 budget, and pump a lot of BS at you guys. One of the things that my long timers would remember is, guys, kind of around towards the end of last year, I think I started really putting a big emphasis on for you around September of last year, is that one of the things I was strongly saying is I said what we're looking for is Iraq to reach a point or period where they can't get anything done. Okay, they've boxed themselves into a corner and have nothing left to do. Guys, they're there now. They're boxed in the corner. They can't get nothing done, and they absolutely have nothing left to do before the rate change, okay? So as you guys see, they've painted the perfect picture for you, and now they're mimicking what both Kuwait and China did by showing you a disinformation campaign on many levels, talking about embassies getting closed down due to, random rockets dropping in the green zone. Guys, they've had random rockets dropping in the green zone for a long time, and the U.S. never did anything about it before. But remember, I told you the reason why I refused to cover the embassy news talking about the U.S. embassy closing down is, guys, I told you it's BS. While all the other gurus were talking about it, I stood back from it because I knew right in my heart it was BS, and look at the accuracy of that. So, guys, we're looking good. We're looking the best we ever have. We are in the perfect storm for this to happen. All right, guys. Hey, you guys are the best. God bless. Have a great day, and on to the next video.